I'm with you in that you're going to have to take calculated risks. And that's what Leon Rose has been about since he's been here. And he's been measured. He hasn't been gung-ho in terms of mortgaging this franchise's future for immediate gains. They have had a prudent approach, and you're going to have to roll the dice in certain respects to get to that top level. And you're right, Donnie, when you look at next season, all things considered, you hope that they're healthy, and if they roll over, say, 85 to 90% of this roster, this is a top 3 team in the East. With Boston coming down, Milwaukee is going to come down, and so you have to figure it's going to be Indiana, the Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers in some sort of order in the preseason rankings. And so where they go from here, Jason Kidd is obviously the hot name right now. Things that both sides are interested from what we've heard in terms of Kidd and the New York Knicks. Is he that championship caliber coach to take the Knicks there?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Here we go at Oakmont. Let's start with the course. What do we know about this course? How long is the rough, and does course history come into effect for you this week?
The U.S. Open has always been billed as the most difficult test of golf there is on the planet. And I tell you what, it's often labeled as the most difficult golf course in the world is Oakmont.
Game time decisions, only on Sport.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Friday to close out this wonderful week on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie, I am Ben. 2 more hours to go up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And DRS, there is so much to get to here in this jam-packed Friday show to set the stage for tonight and the remainder of this weekend. It is game number 4 of the 2025 NBA Finals on this Friday. That's right. Only one day in between games for the only time in this championship set in the association. So a Friday night in the Fieldhouse in downtown Indianapolis with the hometown team, the Pacers, surprising everybody with a 2-1 series advantage. We will take an early look at the NBA Finals in game number 4 tonight. Later on in this second hour, the NHL's Chris Meaney joins us to recap a historic in a wild game number 4 in the 2025 Cup Final. Edmonton has equalized, tying the set at 2 games apiece. And of course, DRS, on this Friday, round number 2 of the 2025 United States Open is now underway at Oakmont. Plenty of big names already out there on this Cut Day Friday, taking on the very difficult test that is Oakmont Country Club. In hour number 3, we'll check in live from outside Pittsburgh with our guy, Keith Stewart. We'll bring you the odds and where the updates are here in just a matter of moments.
I absolutely love it here. And also keep in mind, today is June the 13th. It's Friday the 13th. Fantastic. Saturday's the 14th. Sunday's the 15th. Monday is the 16th, which means probably we would be, 1 month away from certain teams starting their NFL training camps here. 1 month away, people. We almost made it. We're getting to the beginning parts of the summer months here. A lot to get to. But again, football always on the mind, and I love that.
Yeah, DRS, that is certainly the case as we start off this second hour, a little bit of continuation on our Football Friday and a conversation around the Bengals. One of the reasons we love Mark Zinno here on TEL is he has so many stern takes that they can kind of inspire conversation. Yesterday, he claimed that Joe Burrow is not going to end his career with the Cincinnati Bengals, despite 2 off seasons ago getting paid at the time what was the richest contract in the history of the National Football League. The Bengals have taken care of the offensive stars in Cincinnati, not necessarily on the defensive side. And we've heard Joey B campaign openly for his guys, not just Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but also making sure Trey Hendrickson is compensated, because Burrow understands you need a balanced unit to actually compete for the highest level of Lombardi Trophy, which is what the Bengals had done back in 2021. In Joe Burrow's second year in the NFL, they beat Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead. They played in a Super Bowl against the LA Rams, And if they had slightly better protection against Aaron Donald, they might have already won that Lombardi trophy. They reached the AFC title game the year following, but the last two in 2023, some injuries to Joey B. Last year, an 0-3 start and an abysmal defense kept them out of the postseason. So DRS, in the vein that Mark Zinno presented the question yesterday, what do you think the Burrow era is ultimately going to look like in Cincy?
I mean, very productive and maybe ends with a gold jacket because the numbers that he can put up. And he has had a lot of success here in his early career. But also understand this, injury laden, which cost him many times the offseason. We don't have that this year. Yeah. Healthy in the offseason. Unbelievably, they signed both of his wide receivers back. We thought at least one of those would be gone. That's keeping everything in-house and keeping your quarterback happy with the weapons he needs to succeed. And also your head coach, who is an offensive guy. You have to like that. But then on the counter side, you still need a good defense here. You don't need a great defense to win a championship. You still need a good one here. And entering into the season, you look at a team that was decimated on defense last year, that lost a lot of key parts, arguing with your best defensive player wants to get paid, not trading him, but also sets up a long training camp struggle because he wants more money. And then you draft your number one overall pick as a defensive end to help to fortify that defense, and you're already messing with his money, and your leading tackler is probably going to be in another city next year, being released from that team. So for me, I say, yes, the fun is going to be betting the Bengals this year, not necessarily on the money line or -3, -4, whatever it might be, because we don't know what that defense is going to be, but we understand Burrow is going to have a monster season next year. Touchdown passes all over the place because why?
No doubt.
That's the way they're going to have to play. And as I talked about, you are going to have injuries in the season, which, yes, the defense is going to get injured, and we don't even love the players that they have. But let's just say you have to say, you know what? Week 6, 7, and 8, we're down a little bit on offense. Let's lean on our defense. You can't lean on that defense. That's the problem here. You have to be all gas all the time on offense just to maybe get your team into the playoffs. That's never a recipe for success for me.
Yeah, DRS, I think it's really well summed up. It's not that Joe Burrow wants to or can throw for huge numbers. It's that he might be forced to do so, as we saw a season ago. 5 years for Joey B now in the National Football League. His rookie year, 2020 and 2023, only played in 10 games. In his 3 fully healthy years, at least a 68% completion percentage. His career completion percentage is 68.6. Currently, that is the all-time record holder in the National Football League. And last year, DRS, 4,918 yards, 43 touchdowns to only 9 interceptions. He led the NFL in completions, in pass attempts, 460, 652 in those respective categories, a 70.6% completion percentage, and also led the NFL in passing yards, 49-18, and passing touchdowns with 43. Joe Burrow won the Comeback Player of the Year award. Had the Bengals been an 11-win and playoff football team, Joe Burrow would have won that regular season MVP award as well. I want to buy into the Bengals. I love that offense. I believe in the gamer, in the quarterback that Joe Burrow is. But again, DRS, we talked about these odds earlier in the week, and if we take a pessimistic view on the Bengals because of the issues defensively, my answer is yes. Not that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be a 7-10 football team and have no chance of even sniffing a wild card spot, but those bottom two prices, AFC Championship 9-1, Super Bowl 18-1, without even an average defense, and the Bengals were not a season ago, bottom 10 in scoring and yardage allowed, then I really can't bet those numbers at this moment at 9-1 or 18-1 to win the AFC or a Lombardi Trophy, respectively.
Exactly. You need to have a better defense. And maybe they make some changes. Maybe Trey Hendrickson comes back. They get off to a hot start, and that can change your opinion. But right now, the opinion is they're not going to be able to get enough stops here for them to win a championship. You can get enough stops in the regular season, get some bad football teams, and also just looking at them making the playoffs. Oh, Donnie, they have a bad defense. They won't even make the playoffs. We have to understand this. The Titans, the Browns, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Colts are still in that same conference as the Bengals here, which last year the Bengals had a bad defense and finished 8th, which was one spot back of a playoff berth. So if you feel that Joe Burrow's going to be healthy, the wideouts are going to be healthy, they'll be right back in that fold of let's win 9 to 10 games, which puts them into the playoffs. But then again, you're going to face the Ravens and the Bills and the Chiefs, who will be able to get stops when you won't be able to get stops. And that's the issue here. They're good enough to make the playoffs. I don't think they're good enough to make a run, and it's not because of the offense.
Yeah, DRS, it's a really, really good point. You see the schedule for Cincinnati. We know how difficult the AFC North is going to be. Maybe not as difficult on paper as we have once perceived it, but even the Steelers with Aaron Rodgers are not going to suck. The Browns might suck, and they have the second hardest schedule in the NFL. Every team in the AFC North, back half of the National Football League in terms of the most difficult schedules in the NFL. All four teams have some of the harder schedules around the NFL, but the Bengals of the four teams in that division have the easiest slate in comparison to the flock, the Steelers, and the Browns as well. They should be a 10-win football team. They should reach the postseason, and you see the first 4 weeks. They should not start 0-2 as they have the last 3 years consecutively, even one worse than that a year ago at 0-3. All right, let's get to Cut Day Friday in the United States Open, our third major championship of this year in golf. Round number 2 underway. And the guys on the course right now playing pretty well at Oakmont. All of that next.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent the message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face, and after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday Night Monday. Oh, the Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Throw him! Ready? Jacob! Yes! Oh! It was never in doubt! It was never in doubt! Oh, there's points falling out of my eyeballs! Oh, James Johnson to the 10! Everybody gets home! The 228.5 matters!
In-game live. Only on SportsGrid.
An update live from Friday. It is cut day at the 2025 United States Open at Oakmont, where DRS, the projected cut as we speak, is 4 over par. What might it be at the end of this very long and brutal Friday at what the golfers playing it right now call the hardest course in the world? And Oakmont showed its teeth in the opening round on Thursday. We saw some guys under par, and JJ Spawn, our round 1 leader, at 4 under, but really through the rest of the day, it was difficult. John Rahm, the only guy with one of the 5 best prices pre-tournament to be under par in red figures on Thursday, is already on the course right now. He is 1 over through his first 4 holes on this Friday, back to even. Of course, you see Scotty Scheffler there as well, 3 over par in his opening round. The reigning United States Open champion, Bryson DeChambeau, also 3 over par. And Rory McIlroy, when we were live on air yesterday, DRS, got off to a great start. but I think made triple later on in his round and fell all the way back to 4 over. Oakmont takes no prisoners. We saw that on a Thursday. We are seeing that early here on this Friday as well.
Yeah, it's the expectations, right? Only 8 golfers here, -1 or better in this tournament, which is unbelievable. Usually it's 8 golfers in the first 20 minutes are already under par, and he's one of the majors here, Augusta, whatever you have you. But at this tournament, it's just going to take, you got J.J. Spawn -4 under. What's his goal for the rest of the weekend? Just play par golf? He probably walks away with it. But as you said, you must hit every single fairway, because if you don't, you are probably going to bogey that hole. Case in point, he just talked about Rory McIlroy yesterday. Wow, didn't expect him to have a great start here. Check in later in the day, completely fell off. Not because he played bad golf, because he played one bad shot on one hole here that gets you caught up in the rough where you just can't recover. That's the fun of this. Okay, take your medicine. So many tournaments, right, Ben, like at Augusta. Take your medicine, take the stroke penalty in a major. It's okay. Just, play for on a par 5 or 6 instead of a 5 here and not get yourself in trouble. That's not the case at this point. Like, you put one ball in the off the fairway, which gets stuck in a bad spot in the rough, you're like, oh, that's triple bogey at this point now. That's what you love. 2 and 3 shot leads disappear immediately in this tournament. That's the fun of it.
Yes, they certainly do, DRS. So the pre-round 2 odds, you saw J.J. Spawn being our round 1 leader. Best round of the day, 4 under 66. At a 12-1 price, it was tied for third best entering this Friday, alongside one of the early stories at Oakmont in the 2025 U.S. Open, a guy that has won a United States Open, 2 of them prior in 5 major championships in his career. That is Brooks Koepka. He remains in a tie for third at 2 under par. He was 12-1 entering this Friday in round number 2. Bogeyed his first hole, went back-to-back birdies on 2 and 3, now has carded another bogey. He falls back to even so far in his first 6 holes on this Friday. But DRS at 2 under, Brooks Koepka just 2 back. Tristan Lawrence, the South African, sandwiched in between a 3 under 67 in round number 1.
Yeah, it's good stuff overall, too. And Brooks Koepka, like, welcome back here. Nice to know you. Used to be one of those dominant athletes we were talking about, like maybe he was Scotty Scheffler before we saw Scotty Scheffler. But the fun always is here at the FanDuel Sportsbook and many books here, Ben, is what? Hey, look at that. Scheffler's 7 back. Write him off. No. He's the favorite. Nope. He's the favorite to win this year. Now, actually, Rahm just clicked there to a plus 550 to take over. So maybe he's playing some good golf with some good shots right now. But Rahm right now, the favorite in the clubhouse. But again, just the laugh of I am 7 shots back and I'm still expected to win this tournament. Not one shot back, 7 shots back, and still the expectations will win this thing.
Yep. Yeah, and DRS, Scotty Scheffler with a 3 over par. We're not used to saying over par for Scheffler at all, certainly in major championships. That plus 650 price entering round 2, second best behind Jon Rahm. Again, Jon Rahm the favorite entering this second round. He is at even par. Scotty Scheffler 1 under through his opening 4 holes on this Friday. He is on the course as we speak right now outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Steady Scotty, right? Got off to a slow start of the PGA Championship, ended up winning the first Wanamaker Trophy of his career by 5 shots. Scotty Scheffler is going to remain in the fight all weekend long. So let's look at those live odds. As DRS mentioned, plus 550, Jon Rahm the favorite by $1 in front of Scheffler. Brooks Koepka now the third best price by himself at 10-1. J.J. Spawn yet to tee off on this Friday. That will come around 12:52 p.m. Eastern time. He will start on the back 9 a little bit before 1 p.m. Eastern. He has an 11-1 price. That is the 4th best. Best round on the course right now for a variety of guys, DRS, is 2 under early. Victor Hovland, 2 under today, tied for 5th, 1 under for the tournament. Sam Burns, 2 under today. He is even. Daniel Berger, 2 under today, also even par alongside Sam Burns.
Yeah, and also you're taking a look at, you still want to back a guy, right, with pedigree. Been there, done that, has won a major championship and maybe multiple ones here. That's why I take a look at Brooks Koepka. We haven't heard from him for a while, goes to Live Golf, gets all that money and maybe settling in, saying, I got my money, how much more do I need? I won a couple major championships. But if you remember, won the Open in 17 and 18. He's been there on these type of courses and had a lot of success. It has been a while, but you have a guy that's been there, done that. Those are the guys I want to keep my eyes open to. And Koepka playing really good golf early on. That's a name to watch. Finally, it was always a name to watch, and now it is again.
He steps up in these moments, DRS. There is no doubt about it. He excels at major championship golf. When the going gets tough for most, that is where Brooks Koepka thrives. And just to say, right, he is even par today. He has carded a couple of birds, but a couple of bogeys on the card as well. His updated live round score, over under 72.5. So you might be thinking, so right around even par? No. Par at Oakmont is 70. Over under 72.5 for a guy that is even. They are still expecting him to be a few over on this Friday. Koepka, a 5-1 price to be the leader after our opening 2 rounds at Oakmont. A little bit later, in just about an hour from now, we'll have Keith Stewart live from the Media Center at Oakmont to tell us how this course is faring, how it is playing, what we can expect here in the early morning hours on Cut Day Friday, and of course, how difficult this course might become as it dries out and gets faster later on this Friday afternoon. It favored the morning wave yesterday, Donnie. There is no doubt about it. Will it do the same on this Friday in our second round at the United States Open? Let's get you set for Game 4 of the 2025 NBA Finals next.
Right now have awoken. Maybe they are the best team out in the West because a rooting interest for me, Tom, always the Mariners. Hey, they're finally getting the heading back, but now that's starting to slide.
We can make the case for the Rangers. They shore up some things. A team that the Rangers, you and I were both very high on coming into the season. They make a shot for the wild card, but I do think it's going to be a two-team race between the Astros and the Mariners, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a plus 340 price.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Every 5 days, it's really exciting when Skeens pitches, and it's terrible watching him pitch because every time he pitches, they don't score.
Having him hit the lineup probably would actually help when he pitches. There's no way to do it because you can't, but it's beyond frustrating. And the numbers will tell you, the books have adjusted.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The 2025 NBA Finals continues on this Friday. It is game number 4 in downtown Indianapolis. Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the site for our 4th game of this championship set in DRS for the only time in this NBA Finals. Just one day off between games. Game 3 and another Indiana outright win as a hefty home dog was on Wednesday. Game 4 right away on this Friday. Of course, here are the odds to be crowned an NBA champion and hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy. You might think, all right, after 3 games, you see a team at a minus 235 favorite price. That team is up 2-1, right? Nope. The Thunder in a hole and yet still a strong favorite at minus 235. The Pacers are getting a game and a half, but with some pretty hefty chalk in that series spread. which is interesting, DRS, because if Indiana can at least get to 7, even if they come out on the losing end of the NBA Finals, they will cover that number, and we are expecting from the odds perspective to see the entire distance of this NBA Finals. The most likely outcome, 7 games at plus 106. The Pacers hold a 2-1 series lead, entering yet another home game in Indy on this Friday night in game number 4. DRS, how do you see this series situation?
Yeah, it's a great series situation, and also you're still getting a lot of respect here from the odds makers on the Thunder, and rightfully so. The algorithms still add up. Sooner than later, the better team is eventually going to take over. Well, that better happen. But also understand this from a series perspective. Both of these teams have to absolutely love only a one-day break. Number one, the Pacers. We want to keep that momentum here. We're at home. I can't wait to get on that home court. And also, just to get the bad taste out of your mouth for the Thunder. You don't want to linger in a city 2 extra days here. Oh, no, we lost. What happens if we lose game number 4? Like, you want to get back on that court as soon as possible, and we're going to do that, which sets up a really good game here. So if you're looking for the series prices, the minus 235 does still seem a little bit steep because we're not coming at this, from an objective that says games 1, 2, and 3. My God, Oklahoma City was up 30 points in each one of those games. They just didn't score in the fourth quarter. Eventually, they'll do that. You can't tell me that we're watching these games saying like, and OKC just playing bad basketball. No, like Indiana's playing good basketball against a really good basketball team, and nobody's surprised that they're actually up 2-1 outside of your pre-series thoughts on what the series was supposed to be. But watching these games, there's no overmatched basketball team just getting lucky winning some games here. Like Indiana's in this thing to win this. Now, the interesting part's going to be how it happens tonight because this series certainly goes 2 different ways. A victory for Oklahoma City, they'll be way back into the driver's seat. But a victory for the Pacers, then you start saying, who actually is really the better team here in the playoffs? Because the Pacers have had this MO all the way through as is. Nobody talking about them until they're in a position to close out a team we didn't think they'd be able to close out. Minus 235, which was minus 230 yesterday. So still the public buying in on the Thunder. And I agree. I think the Thunder do win tonight. We'll get into that just a little bit later. But from a series perspective, heavy favorite still on the Thunder. And they don't even have home court advantage, and they don't even have the series lead, which is the wild part about it.
Here is the series situation. Of course, when you look at those odds, the Thunder's still a strong favorite at minus 235. But now I think we start to ask the question, are the algorithms, are the power ratings, are the models just flat out wrong? The Pacers have defied the odds the entirety of this magical playoff run. They are 9-4 straight up when booked as an underdog. It is the best win percentage at .692 of any team booked as an underdog in at least 10 playoff games in a single postseason in the history of the association. They have defied expectation countless times. Are they continuing to do it here, not just ahead of Game 4, but for the entirety of this series? And, Donnie, that was the main theme. We questioned entering this set. Can Indiana even make this a competitive series? Can the Pacers force a 6th game? We know that to be the case, although Indiana could technically win this in only 5. Now the question is, can Indiana defy the odds again and win an NBA championship outright despite being the hefty dog? And for OKC to make good on that minus 235 price, DRS, they're going to have to win on the road. They're a 6-point favorite entering game number 4 tonight in Indianapolis. The Thunder, 4-4 straight up away from OKC, and 0-8. That's a goose egg. 0-8 against the spread as a road favorite.
Yeah, the mindset here, right? It's like, wait a second. I just watched the Pacers win on their home court. That game was 4.5 to 5 points here. The Pacers won. Now we go back for game number 4, and we increase that spread. Oh, the mind games that the FanDuel Sportsbook and other books are playing with us. I'm buying into those mind games, man. I'm buying in.
I think, DRS, from a handicapping perspective, that is
Buying
the
in.
correct note. It is opening day in Omaha. The College World Series preview next.
I'm with you in that you're going to have to take calculated risks, and that's what Leon Rose has been about since he's been here, and he's been measured. He hasn't been gung-ho in terms of mortgaging this franchise's future for immediate gains. They have had a prudent approach, and you're going to have to roll the dice in certain respects to get to that top level. And you're right, Donnie, when you look at next season, all things considered, you hope that they're healthy, and if they roll over, say, 85 to 90% of this roster, this is a top 3 team in the East. With Boston coming down, Milwaukee is going to come down, and so you have to figure it's going to be Indiana, the Knicks, the Cleveland Cavaliers in some sort of order in the preseason rankings. And so where they go from here, Jason Kidd is obviously the hot name right now. Both sides are interested from what we've heard in terms of Kidd and the New York Knicks. Is he that championship caliber coach to take the Knicks there?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Here we go at Oakmont. Let's start with the course. What do we know about this course? How long is the rough, and does course history come into effect for you this week?
The U.S. Open has always been billed as the most difficult test of golf there is on the planet. And I tell you what, it's often labeled as the most difficult golf course in the world is Oakmont.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
There is no place like Omaha in the month of June. The 2025 Men's College World Series begins on this Friday. Yesterday, CWS Media Day. Everybody getting a look at the Chuck. That is Charles Schwab Field, Omaha, in downtown Big O, ahead of the CWS starting on this Friday with a doubleheader of action. 2 games on this Friday, set to start at 2 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern. 2 more games to open up the College World Series on a Saturday, of course, with the same schedule. We'll look at those matchups, and we'll break down the Omaha 8. So many great storylines, DRS. And, of course, college baseball is at a beautiful, beautiful spot. We see no teams for the 2024 field here in 2025 for the first time since 1957. Talk about some parity, at least in the teams that have qualified for the College World Series. We also have 7 different conferences represented in the Omaha 8. That's the most that we have seen in the Big O in more than 2 decades, since 2003.
Need more SEC teams in here. You want the big names in there, Ben. We're not going to the Chuck out here. We like the old stadium better than the new one they have now. Bring back old Omaha, Ben. That's when it was at its greatest here. I don't know what it's called here. All I remember is guys like Pete Incaviglia going yard back in the day. Oh, Rosen. Yeah, exactly. Why don't we call it the new Rosenblatt, like the new Yankee Stadium at this point? Would have added the intrigue here. And everybody misses teams like the Miami Hurricanes, which were dominant in the 80s and 90s in Omaha. Get back to those days here. That's where we can get the ratings back. Pat Burrow and the boys.
That is Charles Schwab Field right there, DRS, as you see it, a place I have graced many a times in one of the great environments in college baseball. Donnie, that is a take, by the way, that many in Omaha share, that Rosenblatt is the history. This is the 75th anniversary, by the way, of the men's CWS being played in Omaha. It is almost like Augusta to the Masters. We do not see this often in college sports, where our national championship games rotate between venues. Donnie would love the college football national championship game at the FBS level to solely be played in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. That is the special nature of what Omaha means to college baseball and to the College World Series.
Is Rosenblatt still there?
In person.
No?
Yeah.
Did they tear it down?
Not
still
in
there?
a full stadium. It's almost like a historic display. It's a mini ballpark that still is kind of a historic site.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It is really beautiful. I believe we have some attractions that everybody who is heading to Omaha this weekend can take in around the Big O. That's still the ballpark. That's the Visit Omaha sign. That looks like is the Henry Dooley Bridge, if I am not mistaken. Yeah. That is
Ooh,
the
look at
actual
that.
walking
Wow.
path that divides the states of Nebraska and the state of Omaha.
Really?
That is the skyline of downtown Omaha.
Whoa, who's that?
That's a sculpture I don't know of. That's
Oh,
a
Pioneers,
plaque
you
that I
got it,
haven't
yeah.
seen.
William Patterson's
The
in there,
Omaha
love
Zoo,
it.
often ranked top 3 in the country,
Whoa.
along with San Diego.
Oregon Trail.
Is the Pioneers Path.
Wow.
This is all the Pioneers Trail, yeah. This is all
I'll take my
downtown
dogs
Omaha,
there.
DRS. That's a couple of 100 feet from where I lived down there in the old market. It is a beautiful, beautiful sight. Cobblestone streets, bars, restaurants. Shout out T. Henry's, a great dive bar that I would frequent often during my 2 years living in downtown Omaha. And of course, the site now
There's a
that was
downtown.
not there when I lived there, but right outside the ballpark. Rocco's, of course, the home to the College World Series and the Jello Shot Challenge. Now, I'm not going to name names, but there is another media network that does something pretty similar to what we do here from the sports betting lens, that is doing some live shows at the College World Series from Rocco's.
Low ratings.
If SportsGrid management is listening, maybe that's the story for the 2026 College World Series. Get Donnie right side to Omaha, Nebraska.
Now, see, you know what you would like to, Ben? Like, would you like to be on the spot where you had the Iowa Hawkeyes football team, the Nebraska Huskers football team, and they line up across from each other on that state line right there, and you take that photo and put it on like Sports Illustrated or, ESPN, the magazine back in the day? Like, would that get you, like, that might be the best cover you've ever seen?
Beautiful.
State line pride right there. Don't cross over. By the way, how close are we to the state line then? Like, where was that walk? It's right next to the stadium.
Well,
like,
that's
you hit a home run, you're in the next state.
Not quite. It would be a very long home run. But yes, DRS, that bridge is very close to where the stadiums are, both where Creighton plays their home basketball games, the CHI Health Center, I think it is called now. It was CenturyLink during my day. And, of course, Charles Schwab Field used to be called TD Ameritrade. Now they call it the Chuck. That is not far away. You could walk for about 15, 20 minutes from where that bridge is over the mighty Mo, the Missouri River that separates Iowa and Nebraska. It used to be my running path as I would go out for some lovely jogs there around Omaha. It's beautiful. Again, truly, Donnie's going to bag on it. Please take this impassioned plea from me. If you can do a sports trip with your buddies, I don't think there is anything better than heading to Omaha for the College World Series. It is pure Americana. It is pure tradition. It is pure nostalgia. It is baseball in warm weather where the beers are flowing at all times. I recommend you go to Omaha and you make it a bucket list trip at some point in your life. You will not be proven wrong, and it will certainly be worth your time, DRS. That is my plea. I know you do not feel.
Is he from out there? Is Warren Buffett out from Omaha? Is that where he's at?
He certainly is.
Oh, hey. All right.
Still lives in Omaha.
Yeah. All right. Does he ever show up to the college baseball games? Come on now.
I don't know if he ever goes to the college baseball games. He lives off of Dodge. I'm blanking on what the name of his neighborhood is. It's super nice. It's like downtown Omaha. Blackstone is a new area that has come along in the last 20 years. I can't think of it.
Just can't get it.
It'll come to me. It's been 7 years since I've lived in Omaha, Nebraska. By the way, the early updates for the Rocco's Jello Shot Challenge. At first, Murray State was in front. Now it is LSU looking to reclaim their throne from just a few years ago. A couple of previous champions in the field, that being LSU and Arkansas, both to win a College World Series, and of course both have won that Rocco's Jello Shot Challenge. And both teams, DRS, have the two best prices to win a national championship. One of the main storylines for this NCAA baseball tournament, the SEC sending a record 13 schools, getting a record 13 bids to the NCAA baseball tournament. Only 4 advanced to the second weekend in the Super Regionals. Only 2 made it to the Omaha 8, and yet both have the two best prices to win a national championship. Why? The SEC has been dominant in terms of claiming titles. 5 consecutive SEC programs have won a national championship. 10 of the last 15 national title winners hailing from the SEC.
Yeah, and you had a lot of good upsets there, certainly in the regionals and the super regionals, which brings you this 7 here. But you're right about that. The SEC plays great baseball. You take a look at Arkansas, plus 200, LSU, plus 230. They probably should be up there in the leaderboard. Let me ask you this question, though, Ben. Did we ever have any controversy with the Jell-O shots? Like some team thought hey, we bought an extra couple hundred that didn't get placed up there. Have we ever had a controversy on the winner? And like, wait a second, we're up 1,000 shots 15 minutes ago. How are we losing now?
I don't believe so, DRS. Rocco's is pretty diligent in terms of their accounting. And again, you might see some people be like, $5 for a Jell-O shot. What are we even discussing? A lot of that goes to charity, both the Omaha Heartland Food Bank and the food banks of all 8 schools that are represented in Omaha. Again, a peculiar thing from the actual baseball. Starting today, our first game, Coastal and Arizona. The Chants back in Omaha for the first time since 2016 when they won the entire thing. Who do they beat in the CWS Championship Series? Arizona. Arkansas and LSU play tomorrow in the nightcap on a Saturday. They play each other to start off at the Chuck, and yet both have the best places to win a national championship. To the ice we go next.
Their team total is 19.5 wins. I told you to go under, and it's by far the best bet I have recommended on this network in 4 years. They can't get out of their own way. And now Sloot is out for the year. Let's hope Sloot gets back because I respect the hell out of Sloot, and I want her to go out on her own terms. Hopefully we'll have her back for the 26th season.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Foul him!
Oh, Freddie.
Jacob! Yes! Oh! It was never in doubt! It was never in doubt! Oh, there's points falling out of my eyeballs! Oh, James Johnson to the 10! Everybody gets home!
In-game live. Only on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Friday on the Early Line on SportsGrid after a historic game number 4 of the 2025 Stanley Cup Final last night in Sunrise. We are very pleased to welcome on the NHL's Chris Meaney to break it all down and talk about the remainder, Chris, of what many are calling perhaps the best Cup Final through 4 games we have seen in recent time.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. Happy Friday, guys. Thanks for having me. I mean, we've seen goals in all 4 games. The over is hit in all 4. We've had 3 overtime games, and Calvin Pickard coming in last night to become the first goalie to win a Stanley Cup Final game in relief since Andrei Vasilevsky in 2015, and just the 3rd goalie to do so since 1991. Really saved the Oilers season. Everybody talking about the Panthers and the dynasty up 3-0 after the first period, but Edmonton really turning the tables and playing a much better, like a sound game defensively, which is tough to do when you're down 3-0. Like, for example, Stuart Skinner, who got pulled in the second consecutive game, he faced 8 high danger shots in the first period. He made some remarkable saves as well. It wasn't his fault that the Oilers were down 3-0. Played 20 minutes, 8 high danger shots against. Pickard, the rest of the way, just over 50 minutes, faced 6. And it's not like they weren't great saves. Like, he made some spectacular saves. One comes to mind, Anton Liddell, when the Panthers were up 3-1, 8 minutes left, a partial breakaway. Then he has the save on Bennett in overtime where he makes the save with the glove and it goes off the bar. So, yeah, remarkable hockey, guys, and I think we're in for a couple more beauties.
Chris, how did they do it? Coming off of game number 3, you got whitewashed 6-1 in that game. In game number 4, you're down 3-0 right off the bat. Your goalie is sent to the showers. I'm thinking they're rebuilding. Okay, well, best effort in game number 5 to try to force a game 6 and get to a game number 7. How could the Oilers come back and do this and win 5-4 in extras even after they gave up the late lead? It was such a crazy game. But, man, the fortitude for those Oilers, Chris.
Yeah, and you know, it is their 8th comeback win. The NHL record is 10 through a playoff win, so they're right there. You could see it in the first round against the Kings. A lot of their victories were from behind. Now they have 2 here in the Stanley Cup Final from behind. And, you guys are talking about history. First team in Stanley Cup Final history to win a game while trailing 3-0 after the first period. Teams were 37-0. before last night. So remarkable. There's no quit in this squad, and really, a kind of quiet game from Connor McDavid, right? Not up to his standards. So other guys chipped in. We had the goal from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that we saw. Leon Draisaitl again, another guy checking a box in terms of history. 4 overtime goals in the postseason. That's an NHL record. He has 2 in the Stanley Cup Final. Now he leads all players here in the finals with 7 points. So, yeah, there really just isn't any quit. There was some power plays for the Florida Panthers, which they capitalized in the first period, and then Edmonton scored on their first opportunity in the second on the man advantage, and really just want to give more love to Calvin Pickard. Like, this is a journeyman, a backup goalie, and now he's the first Oilers goalie to be 7-0 in the playoffs since Grant Fuhr. So it's remarkable what he's doing, and this is his series now.
Calvin Pickard gave Leon Draisaitl in the Edmonton Rush an opportunity, getting just enough, Chris, of that Sam Bennett shot, who was trying to score for his 4th consecutive game in the Cup Final, to deflect it off the bar and, of course, keep it out of the back of the net. You mentioned Leon Draisaitl in the individual history that he made last night. 6 overtime goals in the regular season. That the most in a regular season in National Hockey League history. And now his 4th overtime goal in this Stanley Cup postseason, including the game winner in each of the 2 wins for Edmonton here in the Cup Final. That the most in a single Stanley Cup postseason in NHL history as well. So, Chris, if I direct your attention in a series tied at 2 games all to the Conn Smythe odds, I must ask you, my friend, how in the world is Leon Draisaitl booked behind Connor McDavid to win the playoff MVP award?
Yeah, you know what? I agree with your take. Like, it does seem a little, you scratch your head a touch. I think when we talked before the Stanley Cup Final, we said, listen, like, Leon Draisaitl, I think at the time was plus 850, and McDavid was the favorite, and they were pretty close in terms of points. And now all of a sudden they have 32 each, and Leon has the 11 goals, and you rattled off all the statistics there, and the 5th player with multiple overtime goals in the Stanley Cup Finals. You got to go back to 93. And John LeClair, for all the Habs fans out there, had 2 against the Kings on the road, en route to a Stanley Cup win for the Montreal Canadiens. But as I mentioned, he leads the series in points at 7. I think he's a good bet. I mean, at any moment, McDavid, game 5, could have a 5-point game. And, I look a little silly here, but if you're looking to get involved now in this market, I mean, why not for Leon Draisaitl, given what he's done and he can continue to do as the series shifts to Edmonton now, and the momentum is with the Oilers, right? 2 out of 3, go back home in front of that building. They're 7-2 at home. They've scored 4.56 goals per game at home, which is second in the NHL. They have a power play operating at 42%. With all of that said, it's not going to be easy for them because the Panthers are 9-3 on the road, 4.67 goals per game, which is the most, and a 41% power play, which is the best mark. So one team is amazing on the road in the Panthers. amazing after a loss at 5-1. Another team is great at home. So, guys, I just think we're going to get another couple more great games, and I really do feel like this is going to go 7, and I've always felt that way.
Absolutely. Now we're sitting in the Stanley Cup Finals. I loved how you worked in a little Flyers angle there. Mark Recchi trade for John LeClaire and Eric Desjardins back to Philadelphia. Formed the Legion of Doom line, LeClaire, Lindros, and certainly Michael Renberg there. So I had to fit that one in. But if we're looking at today's day and age in hockey, yeah, exactly. The Edmonton Oilers, now the favorites to win this series here at a -118 price, which is up from -110 earlier today. So looking forward, we'll get to the game this weekend. But now the Oilers, home ice advantage back in their favor, best of 3. How are we feeling about that?
Yeah, Donnie, you had to sprinkle in the Flyers there. It was actually a little Habs tidbit there for you, but I do love that. Yeah, listen, I think it is a must-win game for the Oilers, you know, with their comeback wins and them having McDavid and Draisaitl. I do believe they need to take care of business at home game 5. You know, if Florida goes into Edmonton and wins that game, I'll feel a little uneasy about this series going 7 and the Oilers winning. But I do think if Edmonton can win game 5, Florida take care of business at home in their barn, and then all of a sudden it's just game 7, which we all live for, a rematch of last year as well. So I do like the Oilers. That was my pick in 7. I like the fact that Pickard is in there. They feel a little bit more comfortable, I think, with Pickard between the pipes. He's looked solid. So I like where Edmonton's at. It's a big W.
More with Chris up next.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent the message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face. And after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday Night Monday. The Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Does a guy like Giannis fit onto that roster if you can make some of those changes?
I just don't see a KD pursuit as being realistic for the Knicks. But hey, if they can pull a rabbit out of a hat, as Leon Rose oftentimes can, I'd go after Giannis in a heartbeat. It's just, you know, what type of package could they entice for the Milwaukee Bucks? And is it a 3 or 4 team trade? It gets a little bit tricky in that regard.
You see the Knicks there with a +340 price.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you can't really, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Ready? Jacob! Yes! Oh! It was never in doubt! It was never in doubt! Oh, there's points falling out of my eyeballs! Oh, James Johnson to the 10! Everybody gets home! The 228.5 matters!
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
So let's get ready for game number 5 in a best-of-3 now in the Stanley Cup Final with a series tied at 2 games apiece. It is tomorrow night, a change of venue once again, now north of the border, back in Edmonton, as Chris Meaney is here with us for a second consecutive segment. Chris, I thought you said it very well right before we hit the break on the importance, of course, of this critical Game 5 for a team to take a series lead and be just one single victory away from hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup. Can Edmonton continue the momentum back at home after a dramatic and historic comeback in Game 4? Or will this Panthers team, our reigning Stanley Cup champs, show that pedigree and be resilient once again? Chris, what will be the number one thing that you look for bright and early to start off game number 5 with the Oilers an ever so slight home ice favorite?
The number one thing for me is to stay out of the box for the Edmonton Oilers. Like, they essentially have been perfect when they have fewer than 10 penalty minutes. I know it's easier said than done, but again, the same thing in game 4 that happened to them in game 3. Just careless plays. I know people want to talk about the officiating, but those are penalties. You know, if you're Matthias Ekholm and you get your stick up Brad Marchand's face, you have to call that. There was a couple, non-calls in the first period that didn't go Edmonton's way. Certainly on the Lundell goal, you could make the case for Carter Verhaeghe getting a penalty there, but stay out of the box, play a clean game at 5-5, because they have played with the Panthers at 5-5. And again, as I alluded to earlier in the previous block, when Pickard came in, they were sound defensively. Like, this is a Florida team that generates a ton of high danger chances. They've been among the league's best in that category for the last 3 seasons here. This is their 3rd straight Stanley Cup Final for a reason. But after the first period, to only give up 6 high danger chances in just over 50 minutes after giving up 8 in the first 20 minutes of that game, with the crowd bumping, getting those power plays, I just thought that Edmonton really, maybe it's just going to the backup goalie in Calvin Pickard. For whatever reason, some teams change their style a little bit when there's another goalie that comes in. Of course, they were down 3-0, but I thought that their game was really strong in the final 40 minutes of regulation, and they've been a good team on home ice. The power play has been good. The crowd is going to be rocking. Pickard now, feeling confident. So, as I mentioned, I think the Oilers are in a really good spot. If they can stay out of the penalty box and make this a 5-on-5 game, I like their chances to get a serious lead.
Chris, are we going to see this series slow down? And I hope it doesn't. Like, I hope it goes to 7 and we get, 6, 7, 8 goals every single game. But sooner than later, usually, we talk about in the NBA, like when every possession matters. Same thing in hockey, where you can't take those penalties. And also understanding what the referees believe. Hey, you know what? We're getting later in the series. We want to let the players decide this. So unless you're going to get blood out there, we're not calling a penalty. How do you see these next games shaping up? Because it's the best of 3 to win a Stanley Cup. And who might have that advantage based on the style of play that we might be anticipating?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, because you're right. I mean, even last year when there was a lot of goals towards the end of the series in the Stanley Cup Final, what did we see in Game 7? A tight checking 2-1 affair. And if it does get to 7, that's what I would expect, right? Teams, for a win to win the Stanley Cup, right? Teams are not going to want to make any mistakes. There won't be any pinching. The style will be a little bit different. But as for, tomorrow night, Game 5, and we're going to get Game 6 in Florida, I can't see these teams playing any different, right? Even with Pickard playing great, Bobrovsky making good saves, both of these teams just have so much firepower offensively. We've seen the overhit in the first 4 games pretty comfortably, and both power plays are electric, right? So thinking about Game 5 in Edmonton, power play for the Oilers over 40%. The Panthers on the road, power play over 40%. So should the whistles not go away and both teams get a couple power plays, I think we'll continue to see some goals. But once we get to Game 7, I would change my tune. We see it all the time, not even just in the Stanley Cup Final Game 7 through round 1, 2, 3. Historically, those games are a little tighter.
I saw a great stat earlier today from Evan Abrams of Action Network saying that all 4 of the games so far in the Cup Final have skied to the over. It's the first time a Stanley Cup Final has started with 4 consecutive overs since 1991. High-scoring affairs in each and every one, and OT games in 3 of the 4. I believe it was the North Stars, if I'm not mistaken, if I saw that correctly, and the Islanders. 1991. Chris would know better than both.
I don't think
and both.
Were they?
I don't know, man. Maybe I got the years wrong, but it's been a very long time. That is for sure. And the total remains at 6.5. Penguins in the North Stars. Thank you.
Pietrangelo
6.5 is that total. The under, by the way, has had the juice the entire time. So plus money on the over has always been the case. Hopefully you have won some good money throughout the Cup Final. Chris Meaney, we wish you the best, man. Have a great weekend. Thanks for being here as always. Hour number 3 up next.